Good morning, Westminster. I'm Ken Cook, your co-host. This is our another co-host, my wife, Carol Cook,
Good morning.
and our producer, director, co-host, and spiritual advisor is Boyd Taylor.
Good
Boyd,
morning,
good
Boyd.
morning.
Good morning, Ken. Good morning, Carol. I see we've got a special guest up there. Hello, Judy. How are you? It's Judy Iverson, isn't it?
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
We're so excited to have you, Judy. We've seen your pencil drawings in the artist gallery, and so we want to talk to you in a minute here about all of your career as an artist and what led to different things. Before that, we need to touch on the Longhorns and see how they're doing. What do you think?
Oh, those Longhorns. Did you go to Lubbock, Ken? See the game?
Boyd, I really wanted to go, but I was afraid of all those flying tortillas.
Did they really
That's
do
a real safety hazard up there, even with
Yeah.
25% capacity.
Right.
Have you been to Lubbock?
Yes, it's a wonderful town. Fabulous. They have fabulous support for Texas Tech, and that it's the home of Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly was born there, and even have a Buddy Holly Boulevard. And he named his singing group and his band the Crickets, Crickets, Crickets. And the Beatles thought that was a good idea, so they named their group the Beatles after Buddy Holly. Set the pace.
More trivia there.
I wouldn't have believed that if I hadn't heard it on Jim Woodrick's program Monday night. So I know where you got it.
Oh, we've got to be more careful, huh?
Yeah, he may sue us.
Right.
Anyway, they have live music and wine bars in Lubbock now, which is a change from the old days when you had to make a run to the nearest liquor store, which I think was 60 miles away somewhere up the road. And did you watch the Emmys? That was the other big news of the week.
We watched a little.
We really didn't realize it was on, which is a first for me. I look forward to the Emmys. But I just watched a few minutes, and Jennifer Aniston was setting fire to something or other. And then I realized we weren't going to see all of the beautiful dresses and everything. So we didn't watch for long. How about you?
I watched for about an hour. One program, S Something Creek, won about 10 Emmys in a row. And I heard from the entire family, the father, his son, his daughter, they're all on the program apparently, and they all won awards. But I've never watched it, so I couldn't really say much about it. I did think Jimmy Kimmel's monologue was interesting. He fooled me because he would tell a joke about somebody and they'd show this auditorium full of people and a camera on this guy, whoever he was joking about. And I didn't realize for 2 or 3 minutes that he was talking to a vacant auditorium, and they had spliced in all of these sound bites of people laughing. They did a really good job about it, and we probably need them here on Good Morning Westminster to help us with the splicing. We can get him on board. Well, before we leave the subject of the Emmys, I was wondering if you knew any of the programs that won awards. I'll just ask you. I'll list the ones that some of them that won awards. see if you know them. There was S. Something Creek, Watchmen, Succession, Unorthodox, Mrs. America, The Morning Show, Ozark. You watch any of those?
Not a one of them, but you can ask us anything about old John Wayne movies. We've seen more than 4 or 5 times in the last 6 months, so we can help you there, but we didn't know these shows.
Yeah, I go to Turner Classic Movies all the time. So
Me too.
anyway, we're sort of out of touch, I guess, with the millennials or whoever it is. So I guess it's time to talk to our special guest today. Hello, Judy.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Welcome, Judy.
Thank you.
Judy, we've seen your pencil drawings in the gallery. I think I mentioned that at first. And you don't see very many pencil artists. So tell us about that. How did you get started with that?
Well, I sort of began my career working on creativity and thoughts like that. My mother was an artist and she did pen and ink drawings, but with us, she always did different kinds of projects with my sister and myself. And we worked with clay and ceramics, and our biggest project was to paint all the figures in the creche. My father built us a wooden creche, and we painted these figures and put them in the kiln to fire them. And so we created the whole thing. That was one of our big things. So we just were always doing projects, and she was always introducing us to new kinds of materials and things. But then when I was in college, I took a drawing course, just one drawing course, and I discovered that I can draw almost anything that I can see. So I used that concept as I moved along. As a teacher of many years and a principal of many more years, I worked with students and with teachers in an open atmosphere which promoted creativity. And I'm a firm believer that every student has a spark of creativity in them, and it's our job to develop it and bring it out and give them confidence. And so everything that we did in the school was big murals, big paintings, constructions. Just the whole school just looked like it was perking along with all kinds of creative things. So then when I retired from all my working years and my involvement in everybody else's artistic development, I decided it was time for me to make art. So when I decided to do that, I had to find a teacher, and I was able to find Charles Brindley, who was a pretty famous artist in our area of Nashville, but also nationally. He has many pictures in many museums, because he became famous for drawing all kinds of trees, and so he had commissions to draw all over the country, really. And Charles believes that the way someone becomes an artist is by creating a history of images. So I started out my time with him as a student creating images. And one of the first ones that I worked on was a still life. In fact, I've done a lot of still life pictures. And I wanted to show you some of the materials that I used. First, this particular one I'm thinking of featured a wine bottle, and then our perfectly wonderful Waterford crystal glass. And Roger worried every time I went out of the house with this glass, take it to class, that it would never return. But a crystal glass, you can see that. And then a cork, essential. And then this very unusual wine opener. It was actually made in France, but it came to me from a German immigrant. And it's at least 160 years old, and perhaps even more. But it's actually the only wine opener that I can confidently use. It just works so beautifully. So then I will show you the picture that I created from that. If we can get this on the screen. Somehow I've got the window in there. Oh, here we go. Okay.
That's good.
It's, you see the wine glass, the corkscrew, and the wine bottle. That wine bottle was chosen very specifically for this picture. I went to the wine store, a local wine store, and they had all kinds of bottles of wine. And I wanted to have one that had a picture that I could draw and writing that I could imitate. And so I bought this wine bottle and brought it back and set up my little still life on the table with the board and everything, just perfect. And for week after weeks, I drew this picture and drew this, and various adults in the class would come and say, what are you gonna do with that wine when you finish? And eventually, they said that enough that I thought, well, I think when I finish, we'll just open it and drink it. So the day came when I finished the drawing, and I had brought some glasses and a little picnic basket and some other wine because I knew one bottle wouldn't go too far. So we had a little celebration. We opened it, and we drank the wine and tested this still life, which I created. Other things I like to do are portraits. And I found portraits very, very, very detail oriented. If you're drawing someone's portrait, you cannot say, oh, I think I'll add a little of this and a little of that and so on. It needs to be exactly as is presented before you. So one of the portraits I've done, which was in the gallery show here at Westminster, was a portrait of a young girl, 5 years old, and I did this portrait of her in Argentina. And right now, that same girl is in the art gallery, but the whole body is in there. So I've done two things of hers. And then I often use photographs because we traveled all the time around the country and around the world. And I took pictures of things that I thought I'd like to draw, but there was never any time to do any drawing on site. I always had to take a lot of different photographs and then come back and create the picture that I wanted from the photographs. And I use parts of photographs and put them together in my mind as to what I wanted the picture to look like. And so that it's kind of a collection of different things that I saw. We did a lot of photographing in France. Every summer we would go to France for a month and travel around. And I liked buildings in France, so I took pictures of different buildings, many different buildings, and several of them have been in the gallery. There was one in the gallery of a auberge in Paris, 1536 or something like that. A lot of different pictures I've had displayed there from the travels. And then a lion. Do you remember the lion I had up there last?
Yeah.
And that came from several safaris that we went on in Africa. And I took a lot of lion pictures and then put it together to make that particular drawing. And then the Orthodox Church that was in the gallery last year, I guess, and that was about taken from pictures that we took in Russia, and we went all around that church and talked to the custodian of the church, and then took a lot of pictures, and that was created. And then the old rustic pub in England, and that is another one that I'll probably put in one of the shows sometime soon. And that is called the Fat Lamb. And that's a cool place, yeah. And then the one of the other ones that I really took a lot of pictures of was in Wales, and that was a shaggy old sheep. And that sheep is in a picture. It looks like many sheep, but actually it's the same sheep over and over in different poses, because he kept around us. And he had this, well, maybe it was a she, I don't know. Anyway, she had this real growly voice, and she'd stick her tongue and go, ah, at us. I think she was really being silly. Anyway, so she's featured in the drawing, but it's the same one over and over. It looks like more than one sheep. So,
I think that's very interesting about that. And what are you working on now, Judy?
well, right now I'm on something very exciting that I have never done before, and I'm really happy about this. I'm drawing some illustrations for Janice Scheffelman's new book, and I had read her another book called Sophie's War. We have that book in our library, by the way, Sophie's War, and I wanted to buy a copy of that for my niece's Christmas present. So at the book fair 2 years ago, I had never met Janice, by the way, and I bought this book from her and she signed it. And so before I gave it to my niece, I read it because it was highly recommended to me by Jill Losey and Camille Miller, who had read it before me. And I was so excited about this book. So when I saw Janice after I had finished it, I went to her table. I'd never met her, and I bravely went to her table and introduced myself and said, I just loved it. It has to have a sequel, it begs a sequel. So she has now finished the sequel. It is with her publisher at the moment, and I have 2 drawings that I'm finishing up that will be in that book. So that is probably the most exciting thing I've done.
Well, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
First 2 chapters of her book are in the Writer's Journal, I believe, Judy. The first chapter was in the spring edition, and the second chapter will be in the fall edition, which is coming out in November. And you have an illustration with that, I believe.
I do, and that The Village Without Men is the name of the book, and it'd be well worthwhile to bring out last term's journal and read it, because the first chapter is really exciting, and the second book chapter will be coming out, or the second book will be coming out fairly soon. So that's my experiences so far, and I'm looking forward to more experiences.
Well, you seem to have adapted well to moving to Texas and moving to Westminster, because you didn't really have any roots in Texas, if I believe.
Well, we moved here because we were living in Nashville, but my family was in Washington, D.C., and Roger's family was in Austin, and it seemed as if we should make a move to be near some family. So the family here wanted us, so we moved here. And it's the best decision we ever made, that's for sure.
Well, we're really lucky that Austin won, but it was an adjustment for you. I imagine, moving to Texas.
Well, I'm kind of like a chameleon, just drop me anywhere and I'm fine. But Roger is an Easterner, and he can't get over that. And he likes the mountains and the trees and the cold and so on. Well, when we moved to Nashville, that was less than the Northeast, but it was okay. And Nashville was beautiful, and there were hills and small mountains and trees, and he loved that. And then he came here, and it's just different.
Well, you still got some roots in the Northeast. I mean, you have a place you go to for skiing and Christmas and the wintertime.
Yes.
And
Yes,
is it in
we do.
Vermont?
Yeah. That's a great place, and we have a good time out there. But this year we're really worried because we don't think we'll be welcomed, because Vermont is deciding who is allowed to visit them and who is not. And I don't think the ski resort will even let us in. Or if they do, we'll have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. That's the policy they have right now. So we're up in the air as to what we're going to be doing this year.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, I know you'll miss that if you don't get to go this year.
Right.
We have the same problem. We usually have Christmas with the kids and everything, and you got to decide whether that's going to work this Christmas or not. But we're just kind of waiting and see what happens in the next few months.
Yeah. I think we better get prepared for it being different this Christmas.
So
Have the problem solved by then, but who knows? But Judy, it's really been good to talk to you. Judy, for our viewers out there, Judy and Roger are Kitty and my next door neighbors. In fact, they moved into the apartment we used to live in. So we really are
Really?
neighbors.
Wow.
Are all the appliances working over there? Or did we ruin them?
No, but I'll tell you, we are very blessed to be in here because we have a singing doorbell that you had put in. Not everybody has a doorbell like ours, and we love it. And we have these wonderful blinds that come down automatically. Just push a button and they come down, and you left those for us. And my desk, I have a desk and bookshelves down at the end of the hall that you built in. So we lucked out for sure.
Oh,
Great.
I was meaning to send you a bill. I'm sorry.
You just thought they were free, huh?
Yeah, right.
Well, they're really good neighbors. I'll say that. And Roger has extremely good taste in wine. So,
Oh,
I bet.
Oh,
and
That's
we love your dog.
Hey, well, say hi to Roger, but hey, what's going on this week, Boyd?
well, let's take a quick look at the schedule. See, tonight at 7 p.m., Westminster Residence presents Bill Schlush talking about sleep.
Well, I want to stay up for that if I can.
And Wednesday, Meet Your Neighbors, part 2 at the same Roger we've been talking about. And Vince Bove will host the second group of neighbors, new residents, live, not live, but live on tape from Harrisville Hall. Part 1 was very good. Did you enjoy the first part, Ken?
You know, I really enjoyed the pianist, but I really couldn't tell who it was.
Some woman in a mask. I don't know who that was. And then the Westminster Resident Association quarterly meeting will be Wednesday at 7, and it's going to be a Zoom webinar, which is a new thing for us. Now that I've mastered this Zoom thing, we're going to spread out and do the Zoom webinar. And so everybody will be welcome. If you have an email on file with Ruth Sonnell, you will get an invite to attend our quarterly meeting. And there'll be a question and answer session. And so you can, we hope to have good attendance, but if you aren't able to do that, then it'll be recorded and you can see it the next day. But Sarah Lloyd is going to make a presentation. So I hope everybody will tune in and see if I've learned to do it right. And then on Friday, October 2nd, Gone with the Wind is going to be on 1890. My goodness.
Oh,
we
no.
can say that word for word.
Yeah. And the TCU game, the Texas TCU game is on Saturday. So it's a full week. Hope everybody has a really good week. It looks like we're about out of time, everybody. Do you have any trivia for us today?
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I saw something very unusual today. It was a dwarf climbing down a prison wall. And I watched this and I thought to myself, that's a little condescending.
Oh.
Good. You have to think about it just a second.
You have to think about that one.
That's
Okay.
good.
I'll try to do better next week.
Okay, on that, we need to go.
Great having you.
We need to go now. Thanks, Judy, for being our mystery guest this week. And to all of our viewers out there, whoever you are, keep those emails coming. We want your ideas. And tune in next Monday at 8:30 here on channel 1890. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye, Lloyd. Bye, Judy.
Bye, Judy.
Bye.